after a time, there may come a need for some lesson or some learning. And so we manifest a body and we come here. And we have a whole script. I love this because I learned this when my stepfather died and I went through the process with him. He was kind of the evil guy in life, but as I went through his whole death process, I began to see, and I saw after he died because I had a connection with him, that we wrote the script. We wrote the script for my lifetime on how will you get your power back. Well, to get your power back, someone has to steal it, right? And so you have to figure out how to overcome that. And so that was a big lesson for me in recognizing that we may have difficult people in our lives, but sometimes there are people that we cast, just like Central Casting is going to cast a movie. And we said, okay, I need some good guys and I need some bad guys. Who's willing to play the bad guys? And the deal is the ones that we're most connected with, because they know when we get to the other side, we're going to be laughing our heads off. Oh, that was such a great play, and you did such a great job as a villain. But when we're here, it feels real personal, and it's kind of hard to transcend that. So, anyway, so I learned that from my stepfather. It was a really good gift. But I recognized in all of that our ego gets so attached to what we're seeing, what's in front of us, that it really interferes at times with our achieving our mastery. And then I think that John mentioned the fact of judgment too. Another thing I observed over time is that even in sacred circles like this, we sometimes do the us and them thing. I used to be in a circle in Atlanta, and people would go around and they start talking about fundamental Christians or people that were outside of the metaphysical field. And one day I just said, us is them guys. Get it? You know that they're there to help us elevate our consciousness. And even I was thinking about the things that are going on in the world right now. You know, we've just had a series of explosions in Brussels, right? We could say that those explosions are phenomenal events to help us remember who we are and why we're here and what we need to do to shift this attention, not meet it with more violence, but meet it with more connection on one-on-one, feeling that kind of center of love that we each represent. So, kind of a long roundabout way of getting here, but the book that we were talking about on Becoming Me is how do you drop this pronoun me? How do you get to the us? How do you surrender the I, the me, the we, and then get to us? Because this is the time of us, this is the time of community. And if there's any hope for the earth at all, it's that we figure out the us. That we figure out that everything that we do has an impact. And that impact is going to either create this heaven on earth or a real hell. And that we choose. And that's why I think everybody's here today, is just to talk about connecting that way. So let me get to my notes. I think I've digressed a lot, but it's okay. Oh, why did I choose shape-shifting? In shamanism, the shaman is usually associated with the ability to turn into something else, like an animal. And one of the reasons that they do that, or we turn into a plant or an element, is to kind of, it's like walking in another person's moccasins, okay? We're really feeling what it's like to do that. I had an experience one night, which was really weird. I'd been in a circle in New Mexico where we were all connected at the head, and we were doing an exercise in recapitulation. And it's a whole other topic, but anyway, that night when I went home, I was dreaming, and I woke up, and I was in this other lady in the circle body. I was like, man, this isn't my body. It's thinner, it's longer, it's, you know, it's really weird. And it was very apparent that I had become this person for a while to experience what it was like. So I called her the next day and I said, Diane, did anything weird happen last night? She said, well, there was an entity in my room, I felt it, but I said, leave me alone, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. So I told her what had happened, and she said, did we have fun? And I said, well, it was just different to be in someone else's body. So part of that shape-shifting is to experience something different. Another way to use it is to become invisible. Let's say that you're in a dangerous situation, and you would like not to attract attention to yourself. So the way that you shape-shift for that is to bring your energy down. Normally when we're healthy, our physical energy is, our aura is about here. And our emotional aura is another 6 or 12 inches out. And mental one is another 6 or 12 inches out. So if we don't want people to notice us, then we can step down our energy and pull it in. It's like we're still there, but we're so low in energy, they don't notice us. So if you're out in if you're out in nature and there's a predator, and you don't want to be preyed upon, perhaps you want to step down your energy. But I suggest in the book that we're actually using shape-shifting all the time. How many of you are different in your different relationships? The way you are with your children is different than the way you are with your friends. The way you are with your friends is different than acquaintances, than business people, etc. We shape-shift all the time. I'm just going to suggest that you use it as a conscious tool in working with your ego and become more familiar with that. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start off with a little story. I use this in a talk I did at a Unitarian church. What I said is the ego sets us on a collision course with the reason and heart. So there's a captain on a steamship, and here's a distress call. Captain, Captain, you must alter your course 10 degrees. You're in danger of collision. And the captain replies, I'm a mighty steamship, sound and sturdy. I say to you, if your path endangers you, you should alter your course. I will not. And he continues, Captain, Captain, you must alter your course. And this goes on, and the captain keeps denying it. And he says, I am a mighty steamship. And the other voice comes back and said, I am a lighthouse. You have a direct connection with me. And isn't that so much like our ego? That the light is calling to us, and we're like, I don't think so. I'm kind of hunkered down, I'm just going to be who I am, and to hell with you. So it's a really opening entry to some discussion. So as I moved through this material, I was out walking one day. I realized that there were 7 veils of this illusion. They kind of line up with our chakras, but I was also thinking of the biblical story of Salome and the dance of the 7 veils, which has been distorted. It wasn't quite the dance they were presenting, but it was a level of consciousness. And so I'm going to talk about each of these and why we want to deal with them. So fear is our first veil of illusion, and when does that begin? It actually could begin before we even come into the body. We've made a decision to come back. Some of you perhaps believe in reincarnation, others don't. But sometimes we're reluctant revisitors. You know, we had some work to complete. We didn't complete the other go-around. And so we're like, I have to do it again, really, honestly. And other times, just if you ever notice that some babies come in and they're kind of smiling and they're happy and they're sweet, and some come and screaming their heads off, objection, objection to being here. So this begins at birth, the fear factor. And that can even be created during the whole pregnancy, depending on what's happening with the couple and the mother. If the couple are opposed to this pregnancy, if they're fighting it, if they're flailing at each other over it, that fetus is hearing all of that. And what happens is it creates this environment of fear. So when that child is coming through that struggle in the birth canal, there's a lot of fear going. After they come in, that can continue depending on what's happening in that environment. I grew up at a time where my parents had gone through a depression. And so there was a lot of attitudes of fear around that because people had many were run out of money and food, out of shelter, out of everything. And so that generation held a great fear space, okay? And so that kind of gets inculcated into the child, and you begin to take that on. And then as we move through this process of maturation, we begin to have our own experiences. Maybe something indeed fearful happened to us, and instead of being able to perhaps release it because it was too traumatic, we take it on and we begin to suppress this natural feeling of wellness, of well-being, and of kind of stability, which is what is intended in our very first chakra. That's our root chakra. the one that is our basis for life. And if we're operating out of fear, then we're going to have a hard time, moving through our life with that. We also have a very fear-based media. I have to laugh. When I was sick, one of my neighbors brought me the Seattle Times and left it on a little table outside my door. I never read the paper. I don't have a television except to watch a movie on. I don't choose to tune into the news. I am very selective about what I'll Google, because I don't want it in my consciousness. I know what goes on. I'm not, burying my head in the sand. But I don't want to wake up every day being afraid, or thinking, where's the next terror attack coming, or, am I not safe as a woman in a particular place? And so we have kind of layers of fear, and after a while, they paralyze us, so that we're not able to lift that veil and see that it is indeed an illusion. It isn't real. It's something that we've taken into our consciousness, and that we have many tools to rid ourselves of. In shamanism, we would use soul retrieval, we would